Before the break, we reacted to Colombia hanging on with 10 men to reach the Copa America final. We move on to react to Didier Deschamps staying on as French manager after their Euro 2024 semi-final disappointment. Um, uh, so after the French lost to Spain, there was a little bit of talks amongst Didier Deschamps, a little bit of talk, in this tournament. He's had his moments of, being asked about the style of play, and he basically came out and said to the press, you know, speaking to the French fans, if you don't like the way that they play, change the channel. And and you can come out and make those sort of comments when you had the success that Didier Deschamps has had on this French team. You can come out and make those sort of comments. But there has been talk, and the style of play is what it is. We know what he wants to do with France, and it is tolerated when you're winning World Cups. Yes, but when you don't win, there is some questions asked, and they didn't win this European Championship, and now there's some questions that are being asked. But look, in my opinion, he's a brilliant manager. He's everything that Gareth Southgate wants to be. That's literally what Gareth Southgate tries to be in Didier Deschamps, but Didier Deschamps is just a more successful manager in doing it. And 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 keep in mind, Didier Deschamps. This is not the French job. Is not all he's done. He's had, he's won a League One at Marseille. He did, bring Juventus back up Serie A after the scandal. He did take Monaco to the Champions League final. So he's had a successful managerial career before France. For people wondering, so it's not similar to Gareth Southgate, despite both managers adopting a pragmatic approach. Um, but So yes, he will be staying on in his role. He led France to World Cup glory in 2018, and he does have a contract through the end of the 2026 World Cup. And there's there is the talk of Zidane, with Zidane being available, kind of hovering over the shoulder over Deschamps. But it's kind of clear that, of Deschamps, it's going to be Deschamps' decision when he wants to leave, unless something embarrassing were to happen to France, which I don't see, happening. I do think this is a little bit of a kind of a reboot for France, because in my opinion, over the last few international tournaments, this is the first time that, the French have actually been outclassed in the way that they got outclassed by Spain. I thought they absolutely just lost to the better team than them. I thought in that World Cup final last time around, it was penalties, it was Argentina, it was the Messi effect, it was, the crowd completely Argentinian. It seemed like France, it was kind of France against the world. The European Championship before that, it was an unlucky sort of losing in penalties to Switzerland after, conceding a 3-1 lead later on. Such an un-Deschamps type of performance. And then the performance before that, they won the World Cup. And then the Euros before that, they reached the final, in which they lost in extra time in a game that they really dominated, in my opinion. So, yeah, Didier Deschamps, Philippe Diallo told French news outlets that Deschamps' job is secure. He said himself he has a contract that runs until 2026 and has achieved the sporting objective that was set for him. I see no need to call his contract into question. His past results speak for themselves, and the objectives have been reached. Didier will continue his mission. After the game on Tuesday against Spain, in the post-game press conference, Didier Deschamps was asked questions about his future right after the defeat, which, yes, emotions are high, but it led to a little bit of an emotional response from Deschamps, who said, "You are terrible." Asked that question to the president of the FFF, the French Football Federation. I have just came from losing a semifinal, and you think that I have already thought about that? Me, I respect you. You should try to respect the people who have responsibility a little more as well. I say that in total calmness. What has happened, happened. I am here to respond to your questions, but I'm not going to respond to that today. You know very well the situation, and you know what the president thinks. So maybe you didn't have to ask me that questions. Um, yeah, look, Didier Deschamps has done enough to stay on as French manager despite the semifinal, you know, defeat. He has done enough in his time. He's been really, really good manager for France. The way he has this team, the way that he gets this team defending, the ability to keep it tight and to take advantage of quality that they have in transition, and that quality just didn't come through in transition at this tournament. They defended again really, really well at this tournament, but just not enough quality going forward. A lot of these players not really at the levels that they were at previous tournaments. So, and they do need the rise to come from a few attack. Mbappe needs to return it back to his best, and they need, a little bit of a rehaul. I think Griezmann, the likes of Griezmann and Giroud's time with the national team might be Giroud definitely coming to end, but we're looking at Griezmann potentially his time potentially coming to an end as well. When you look at the fact that he didn't even start in the semifinal, this is now the second game that he hasn't started at this tournament. There needs to be a little bit of a rehaul in that department, and I think they're gonna go on again. They still have a ridiculously talented squad, and I don't think Deschamps was the problem on this French team. I think Mbappe was nowhere near his best, his levels. I think he was a big part of the problem because he didn't play to his level. I thought the French attack was woeful. They were not clinical like they were in past tournaments. They still had a few they created a little bit of opportunities here and there. Camavinga in that Portugal game, Mbappe had an opportunity in that Spain game. So did Theo Hernandez. There was opportunities that they just did not take advantage of at this European Championship, and it was not the free-flowing transition that we've seen in previous French teams. So, and then they just got done by a better team. Spain is a better team than France at this point in age, and France have a chance to, really do a little bit of a rehaul entering the next World Cup, and it will be under Didier Deschamps, despite Zinedine Zidane looking over him looking over his shoulder, because it's clear that he probably wants to take on that French managerial job. That's probably what he's waiting for, but it doesn't look like that opportunity is going to come soon for him. I think Deschamps is going to want to stay on as French manager for a very long time. And why not? When you have this ridiculous array of talent, why would you want to leave? I think managing international football is really, really good, in my opinion. Especially a job like France, you get paid really, really well. It's nowhere near the stress of, club football, because club football, you're dealing with the press every single day. You're dealing with training every day. You're dealing with transfers and all that. It's very, very different being a manager of your home country. That's kind of like the perfect job, in my opinion, and a job that a lot of people will desire. So it doesn't surprise me, his reluctancy to let go of it. He was the captain of the French national team, and he won a World Cup, so the emotional connection is there. Now he's the manager of a team. He won a World Cup as a manager, and despite the sustained success he had, he only has one major international tournament, the Nations League, yes, but besides the Nations League, when it comes to World Cup and European Championships, he only has one major international tournament since the 2014 World Cup that he's won. And he's had two finals that he's lost. He's had two finals that he lost. He had a semifinal that he lost. And so there's been a little bit of heartbreak there as well for Didier Deschamps. So, and that's just football at the end of the day. That is football. And that is football. Now, I think in this 2026 World Cup, I think there will be a little bit of pressure because the way that they play is not the most appealing. So results are going to be important when you don't play the most appealing. When you play appealing football, it gives you a little bit of an out. It gives you a little bit of a leeway. You don't get that sort of leeway if you don't play that appealing football, in which they don't play. So I think it's important that in 2026 World Cup that they perform really, really well. And to perform really, really well as the manager for French national team, with the talent that they have, with the expectation that they have, you have to win it at the end of the day. And it's interesting to see whether or not he can get that done.